It's time again for Talking Trade, sponsored by MMAC's World Trade Association and Michael Best Strategies.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Trade. My name is Ken Wasylik, Managing Director of EM Wasylik & Associates, an international business company.
And I'm Sandi Siegel, President of MED. A warm welcome to our guest today, Buckley Brinkman. Buckley is the Executive Director and CEO of Wisconsin Center for Manufacturing and Productivity based in Madison. The WCMP is part of a 51-center national network that's set up part of the Department of Commerce to help small and medium manufacturers stay competitive. And part of that initiative, which you're going to tell us a little bit about today, Buckley, is understanding how manufacturers can compete on a global scale and in a global economy. So please share with us and the listeners today a little bit about some of the programs and the assistance or the guidance that you give local manufacturers in regards to trade and trying to participate in a global economy.
Well, Sandi and Ken, it's great to be with you. Thanks for the opportunity. We're really proud of what we do at the WCMP and through our two affiliates, the WMEP down here in the southeast part of the state and the Manufacturing Outreach Center based out of UW Stout up in the northwest part of the state. And the point of the spear for our exporting efforts is a program called ExportTech, where we really help manufacturers go from not even understanding how to ask the right questions about exporting, all the way through having a complete executable plan that they can put into practice within 90 days. So it's really a strategic submersion where you really get to the point where you understand, here's my product portfolio, here are the likely targets in the world where this can be sold, and then connecting into the other resources that are available through the state or the federal government. I think, the state of Wisconsin does a terrific job in making resources available so that whether you're a novice or an expert, you're never alone. Right. They have representatives on the ground in 150 different countries who can be your legs and voice in those countries, as well as having a variety of resources up front that you can tap into very easily to put yourself in motion very quickly and leading to sales. I mean, the folks that have gone through ExportTech on average end up with about $1 million in additional sales. So if you're looking to grow your company and you're willing to take a little bit of risk, this isn't as risky as most people think because you have a lot of people helping you, then you have an opportunity for a huge upside when you're talking about exporting.
Well, I know I've certainly seen it firsthand with many of our customers, and at the ExportTech and all the resources are great success stories there. So thank you for that.
Yeah, a number of our clients have actually gone through ExportTech and found that the program is very valuable. Do you see the participation? Now we're in very interesting times on a business side, supply chain, labor shortages, inflation, all of these various external macro factors. Do you see more manufacturers apply for ExportTech and looking to overseas markets, or are they very nervous, uncertain, kind of anxious about the world beyond the U.S. borders?
Well, it's a really interesting time for manufacturing, Ken, just because the sector's so strong right now. I mean, we've predicted this recession for the last 2 years now, right?
Right.
And you hear about layoffs, but they certainly aren't in manufacturing right now. And the companies that I know are going very, very strong. So the pressure to export is not as high as it was before. On the other hand, they now have the resources to be able to explore and invest in new markets. And as they adopt new technology and increase their capacity, it puts an additional pressure on the need to grow. And export markets are a good place to do it. And we have the paths to help almost any company reach those new markets and really do it profitably.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I just was at the ComExpo trade show in Las Vegas, which is very focused on mining, construction, road building, infrastructure. And it was a really interesting and the number of Wisconsin-based companies and the number of companies that foreign companies that want to locate in Wisconsin, particularly to develop that manufacturing base.
Yeah, I mean, it's a time where the sources of supply have become very uneasy. The globalization is not a universally positive word as it may have been 5 years ago. Now we're once again seeing the risks of an extended supply chain. This will be the third time since I've been here that we've gone through it. The tsunami in Japan created a huge issue with the automotive industry. The downturn, the Great Recession, caused its own stresses. And now we're once again in a position where supply chains have reached a strategic level. We'll see if that continues. I mean, the first two times, once the pressure came off, the responsibility for the supply chain went back into the purchasing department and it became cents per unit again, as opposed to how can we get a supply? And, we saw the downside of that really during the pandemic when so many of our supply chains for PPE and other critical medical equipment started in places that weren't necessarily friendly to us. So it's a huge issue, and we'll see if we continue to attack it going forward.
I think there's a lot to be said for what part of the industry you're in, and obviously we're certainly in the waves and the challenges of supply chain. I'm seeing some great success stories. Again, I think it depends a little bit on what industry you're in and commodities and so forth, and at the same time some anxious anxiety, uncertainty, certainly of the economy and geopolitical issues. A lot of our customers are just sitting back and rethinking with all the conversations about friendshoring and nearshoring, and should they be looking at other partners? Are you seeing that in the manufacturers? Are they trying to think outside the box and what markets they might look after? And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the concern of the instability over China is a huge issue. I mean, it's led to another TLA, right? 3-letter acronym, ABC, anywhere but China. So there's a lot of scramble to get critical manufacturing out of China. The other thing that we're seeing is that North America has a really unique combination of assets that could make it that I think will make it a world power in manufacturing, just because you have the higher technology and the resources and the market that's available in the United States, coupled with some of the lower cost manufacturing that can be nearshored to a country like Mexico. And the ability to combine those capabilities puts North America in a really unique spot across the country, because we can handle high-tech manufacturing and we can handle those things that are easily automatable in the United States, where labor doesn't become such an issue and where labor is more of an issue. We have Mexico to the south, and the transit between the two just isn't that difficult.
Agreed. Well,
Yeah.
it sounds like there's a lot of great programs. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, no, the activity in Mexico is very active, and I know there's a number of companies that work with manufacturers finding resources or manufacturing sources here in North America. Again, moving away from the Asian, and you can almost see it in the shipping, right, Sandi? The number of the volume of containers not coming to the United States from China, and the rates have reduced substantially, that it really gives the opportunity for U.S. manufacturers to find those sources in other places. And friendshoring is very active, whether it's with Mexico under the USMCA or Colombia or some of these other free trade agreements that we have with our partners in in the Western Hemisphere.
I think that's really true, Ken. And I think we have some major opportunities. The larger opportunities are going to involve finding places where we have white spaces in the supply chain, where there are gaps. And there are opportunities for companies to pivot into those spaces. But that's going to need a higher level of organization. I know one of the things that we're working on as the MEP is to find those places where, maybe it's not a single manufacturer that has an issue with a particular part, but there's half a dozen. And now we could say, okay, we have this block of business that now makes it worthwhile for a domestic manufacturer to pivot. They're not going to pivot 180 degrees, but maybe 30, and then they can address this need and bring it back onshore. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that in the next couple of years as we start to get a better understanding of what we really want to do in the U.S. or in North America as opposed to, in Asia. And, I'm very optimistic about what we're going to be able to do. I mean, we are, for all the talk about our energy policy, we're still energy independent, and we have a cheap supply of energy. We're the world's largest market. Our labor rates in terms of when you match them up against China have largely become competitive. And so all of those things really put us in a very good spot in terms of U.S. manufacturing.
I agree. And I think the key, and you touched on it, is being able to pivot, right? And shift your resources and your attention to different things. And I think in particular, that's why the WCMP and WMEP are, some of these programs and resources help people understand and get information and get it to them timely and understand where the opportunities are. So thank you for your work. Thank you for enlightening us a little bit on some of the resources and programs out there. And thank you for joining Talking Trade.
Well, thanks for the
Terry.
opportunity. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks,
Great.
Terry.
You've been listening to Talking Trade, sponsored by MMAC's World Trade Association and Michael Best Strategies.